So today I've come to see Johan Hybschmann and Anita Freeman at their amazing house in Hackney in East London. Johan has a practice called Archmongers Architects and they very much specialise in this kind of thing. So taking a 70s house like this, completely transforming it into something new and exciting. So let's go and have a look.
Hello. Oh shit.
Shit, we got a
doorbell jam. Okay, cut.
Action.
Oh, Johan.
I'm Matt.
That was quick.
Yeah, yeah. If you imagine the old stair kind of came down straight here and ended around here.
Okay.
So part of the whole thing was to create more of a inviting entrance.
Yeah.
And push the stair to the first floor deep into the plan.
Okay.
And to create more connection between the living and the downstairs.
Okay.
It's not a massive house, but for us it was really about trying to connect the house up visually as much as possible.
Yeah.
In a classic sort of London terrace with lots of levels.
Well, it's really nice because you come in through the front door, you can see all the way to the garden, but you also get this glimpse into this upstairs space as well.
I think our son quite likes to greet people.
Yeah.
From that window, sort of spread out.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly like that, exactly.
Garfield.
Yeah, exactly.
The way this has been planned by Johan, the layout means that we've made such good use of the space that's here and so economical with it that we can still feel connected to each other whilst having some separation. And we see a future of that. I see Luca, our son, having this fitting when we've got a teenager in the house as well. And we wanted it especially to fit for when your family comes from Denmark, that they can come into the house and spend a sustained amount of time with us, but still have their own space down here.
We've got a drive, but we also got a garage, which is crazy in London, right? There was no connection to the street pretty much. The house was shut off, so the window in the entrance is something we put in to be able to see who's out there. When guest comes in, you just pull a curtain, right? And it drags light through, but you also get this view straight through the house, and you can, like as a guest even, you can see whatever's going on in the kitchen, right? Yeah.
It's really fun.
Yeah,
Quite
actually,
cinematic.
yeah, it has. Yeah, it's true. It's framing that view, isn't it? Yeah, it's true. I think there's a great joy in getting a sense of the full house somewhere in the house, right? Yeah. And it is on the landing. You should make a little bench.
I was going to say, you hang out here.
yeah. Bring the dinner up. TV dinner. We wanted to live in Hackney, and particularly in this area, we feel really at home here. It's like our village has a mixture of everything we like. And then Anita saw this house, and I was like, no, we just literally made our old house nice.
I didn't listen. Yeah.
And Anita didn't listen, so she went to. Anita went
so
to
I went
saw
and viewed it anyway.
Did you go on your own?
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
The garden is tiny, but we could sort of make it more grown up because there's this sociable, very sort of 1970s walkway where all the kids play just out on the other side of that fence. We were able to do a more grown-up garden that wasn't necessarily for playing football, because it can happen out there, right?
And why a pond?
I think Anita was keen on giving back to the wildlife. This was all just paved, and there's a fox that comes every night and goes through the fence and then sort of down and drinks. Oh. And the birds go crazy as well, right? So it's actually a really nice water source for all the wildlife around here.
The way this terrace is planned to have the community garden and walkway, that was a left unmanaged sort of garden area that we got, I was able to get hold of an authority from the council to then start planting and build a community garden, and we hold monthly events there. So he has the whole neighbourhood, and we just open our gate and those kids just walk in and out of our house. It's a
sort of a gift to be amongst so many cultures and social diversities, right? Like which really does exist even just on the walkway. And that's lovely. I think that's a gift for Luca. It's also something we enjoy, I guess, it's the community around us, and also something that teaches you to be, I guess, really grateful for what we've got. This here, there were steps going up to this point.
Okay.
And so we just lightly render that, like the internal walls, to show the scars of and we kind of wanted to weather. We wanted to go darker and deeper over time. But that was the steps up, and there was a cupboard here. And then now we have this extremely tall door.
So your door would have been...
It would have been, yeah, like right there.
Oh, there.
Yeah, like a normal door basically, right?
Yeah.
And which is, I guess, very ironic because I'm tiny and my wife is quite small. It's for my ego.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
It feels so big.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? So you see a lot of hints in the house, which are sort of details of the scars of how we just left the house when it was sort of rebuilt. And actually also lots of the things that references the sort of in situ cast concrete extension was referencing to the already existing lintels, so almost like color matching them and sort of extending with the idea of making it very much in keeping with what's here.
What do you call this finish here on the brick?
It's called vandskuring, Danish.
Say that again, vandskuring.
Vandskuring, it means, I guess the direct translation is scouring with water.
Okay.
So it's a product in Denmark where you render the brick, but then you wash off the render.
Okay.
And then you get this feeling of it being uniform, but at the same time showing the bricks. Because that's an old wall and that's a new wall, but you can tune them in right and still see the quality of the brick. It's not used a lot in the UK. It's super normal in Denmark.
Is it?
I think if anyone watches this from Denmark, they'll be like, so.
Yeah, what a dull house.
Yeah, exactly. Really,
no
really,
one from Denmark watch.
This is no, it's terrible. This is what a terrible house. You should come to Denmark. I think perfection in architecture is sometimes it's a kind of like an illusion. It's not a product like a car, right, where you can get everything manufactured so perfectly. So sometimes going the other way of having like perfectly made things up against things that aren't necessarily perfect is the way to balance those things, right?
And these, what are they, Staffordshire red
quarry
tiles?
Yeah, you know your stuff.
Really beautiful. And these run all the way from the front door, all the way out, right?
It's a shame if you make a house that you're scared to use. So I guess part of it was also to make sure that the things that needed to take a lot of traffic was indestructible. And we could continue that surface out the terrace so you get this seamless transition between inside and out. I think in that material palette there were like maybe sort of 3 or 4 materials in the house. It was bricks, very brick house. There was concrete, which was all the lintels, built very well. There was galvanized steel on the railings and in certain bits. And there was softwood timber, so the floors and any carpentry was made of softwood timber. So we tried to not use anything else than that. And
in terms of the workings of this kitchen, are you a cook?
I'm not. I kind of enjoy it, but I'm not very good.
Yeah, you burn everything.
I don't, but I think I'll probably undercook things more.
That's actually more dangerous.
Yeah. It's a bit of fish. Some people would say that it's quite industrial, but then you can mix it up against something warmer, and then again that balance between perfect and imperfect becomes aligned. But also stainless steel for a worktop and for cupboards it makes so much sense, right? The only problem with it is that it's so expensive, right? That I understand that is a downside of it, that not everyone want to spend that money or can spend that money on it. But if you can, it's just so good. The balcony was already here. Actually, it'd been painted over many times, and I need to spend a good day.
Did you?
Probably longer than a day.
2 days.
Every night.
With
picking, well, I largely use my nails to pick.
You're kidding.
Paint off it, and then the final bit was the scrape. I quite enjoy that actually, strangely. Mindfulness task.
Yeah.
Or mindless.
More the fact.
Looks good though.
Yeah.
There's little things during a refurb though, aren't they, that they really sort of connect you to it more, I think.
You've got to make a backdrop that is sort of natural and pure and quite sort of clean. But that means that anything you put into it will just fit, right? So you can hang crazy art, you can have the most colorful chairs, you can do whatever you want. But we never want the architecture to restrict the stuff that you put into it. And then apply color to objects. Mm-hmm. So they become almost like sculptures. So say you have in project we've quite often done a stair is an object and has a color. It's objects that has color, not the walls. You know that anything we buy has to be forever. Yeah. Or if we don't want it anymore, someone else will have it, right? Yeah. That's really important to us, that it can be secondhand, but it has to be relevant for forever, I think, right? Yeah.
And you have the chair that every architect has.
Yeah.
So does that, I mean, because it's an incredible chair, but does it bother you that a design classic becomes quite ubiquitous? What do you do then?
Yeah, you because this is in your parents' home, isn't it?
Yeah, I
You
grew up with a couple of these.
You've got a couple of these, so there's something about that.
When we first sort of moved in together, Anita was like, "Oh, it's just the chair from Next, you know, or something like, you know, because
I
it's been
in Next waiting room as a child.
You know, and I'm like, that's like, you know, and it didn't matter how much I talked about bending steel or whatever, right?
I call it the Golden Arches test, actually.
Yeah, all right.
Well, if it's a design classic and McDonald's have ripped it off,
yeah,
I think it's probably time to let it go.
Yeah. And I guess Anita and I, it's not that we got loads of money, but we prioritize it, right? So that we add to the collection and then we never change it again. And I'm sure our house will be fuller, not necessarily with so much furniture, but like more artwork or something like that as we go along the next 20 years, right? But it's important to us not to sort of do something that is like for a short amount of time. You almost have to sort of draw the full project to a concept stage so that you know that you're building towards the right thing. Yeah. So you don't start just designing something, you design the full house. And then you start splitting it up with bits where you're sure that you're not doing something that has to be redone later. So like infrastructure, services, all that stuff has to almost be the first step, right? Insulating as well.
Tell us about Vola taps.
So
why are Vola taps the best taps?
I think again it's that thing where it's the little bit like the chairs. It is still relevant, right? No one's kind of created a tap that's so clean. Because it's always going to be relevant, you can always replace parts. And I think that's also a thing, that things you built in or things that you know are going to last forever, you want to be able to maintain them, right? So that in say 50 years, if this breaks, you just take something out and it'll still be in production, right? To the same measurements, and you just replace a part. We sold our old place with replacement door handles because we took our door handles with us. It was because they were the same handles, but it's they've been worn by us, right? So it's those things that you don't want to compromise on, and you probably will, right?
So these.
They are the
Will you take these with you?
I don't want to sell.
I know you're not leaving. They're not selling. I know you're not leaving, but when you do.
If we did, I'd probably replace them with the same ones, but they're really shiny and new when you get them, and it takes ages to get them to this point.
There's that quote I love by Johan Hybschmann.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this? He's a Finnish architect, and he calls the door handle the handshake of the building.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're talking about. You know, you shake hands with this thing every day, several times a day. Yeah. And over the years, it just patinates into such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, anything we put in the house essentially should get nicer over time. There are sort of two strands to it. Like one is the enjoyment of the objects, right? Which is, I find when you sort of look at it and you think, couldn't have been any other way. That's really lovely, whether it's a chair or a tap. But then there's also the idea of sustainability in it, right? That you're not replacing the full thing. They are maybe heavy carbon object, like a cast door handle. But then again, they have from the manufacturer, 100-year lifespan, right? There's something really nice about that thing. And that it's relevant design-wise and quality-wise for an obscene amount of time.
And what's this one?
That's actually your find.
It's actually a very old IKEA chair.
It's a 1970s IKEA.
I didn't realise when I first bought it, and I've restored it, so it wasn't
with your
leather.
Fingernails again?
Yeah. Just with fingernails. That's all part of the process.
This is the theme. Is this the theme for today's interview?
Yeah, fingernails.
Yeah, fingernails. No
How do you
tools.
think the extension was built? I started sort of collecting design bits from when I moved when I was like 18 or 19, right? And they're still here, right? The chair's still there. Lots of the lights were from that era of the first flat I ever lived in. And that is quite nice. I think there's definitely a connection to those objects, even though it's sort of superficial. But I don't think I feel at home until those are amongst me, if you know what I mean, like little characters. The idea of this space was that you could, if you had more guests, we could sort of we could extend the table out this way. But actually, we fell in love with this little round table that was like a prototype.
It's lovely.
An old one. Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? The chairs are this sort of Belmonton J39, which is like a chair, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
a chair.
A chair.
It's just a chair, but it's a great chair, right?
Well, so you like the utilitarian nature of it.
I think they're very unfussy, right?
And this lovely painting, is that Heidi Becker?
You know Heidi?
Yeah.
Do you?
We made a film about
yes,
Heidi.
you did. The interview. Yeah.
She's fabulous.
She was a client of ours to begin with, actually.
Oh, was she?
And now she's become a very dear friend.
I love that though, because I think something's much more important in your life if you've swapped it, or if you've acquired it from a friend, or it's been a gift.
Yeah.
It just has a lot more personal meaning to you now, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you think about the way she speaks and who she is whenever you look at it, right?
Yeah.
And you know where it came from.
Yeah.
Which is also nice, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, I love that. You
love
can
Heidi.
hear her voice when you look at
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Really
So did you meet her as well?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And
Yeah, Heidi.
another Heidi
There's
Becker.
Heidi. But there's one there, and then there's one hung on the stairs. You sort of see it from the. It's like one you can't touch. But
her voice is everywhere.
Her voice is Heidi's always with us. That's it, isn't it? Yeah.
The third person in your marriage.
Yeah. Well, actually, that was
a wedding present from you to me.
It was. I gave her a
snuck
key,
in.
and she snuck in and hung it
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so sweet.
with her late husband. It's very nice.
That's so nice.
Yeah. So yeah, it means a lot.
I'm a clinical psychologist in paediatrics, so and part of my studies were neuropsychology, so how the brain influences our behaviour. I won't take it apart right now, but it comes apart in many forms. So it's a scale. That's the size of your brain in your head. So
Is that that's a real size?
It's your brain map.
So I got
Oh, I
to
wish.
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't actually. I've handled a real brain, and it's not that weight. The
Yeah.
weight's not accurate, and the colour's not accurate. It's actually quite a boring organ to look at, actually, because it's quite grey in reality. So.
Grey matter.
Yeah, exactly.
So as a clinical psychologist working with the brain,
Yeah.
out of interest, what do you make of the way that you live in this home and the impact it has on your mental health and your well-being and the way that you feel?
Yeah. I think, well, for me, it's incredibly important. As a psychologist, it isn't a well-studied in health psychology and paediatrics where I do, but the environment makes such a difference. So I think about it at home in terms of having the space to feel separation between your work and your live areas, to have spaces where Luca can explore and he can develop. So I obviously think about child development a lot in the way the house can appeal to different spaces and how we can sort of nurture Luca's creativity and also his balance and calmness as well as a young boy who likes to be active.
Yeah.
The favourite room of every child in this neighbourhood seems to be our garage room because there's that area for den, and they often come up with ideas of what they would do in that den in terms of like normally cinemas or different things, ideas that they come up and they'd imagine. And I often get stopped with some of the kids when I'm out doing the gardening asking about when Luca's going to get that room so they can come out. Because I tell them it's mine. I'm in my office.
But it's funny, like most people have actually got a stronger kind of spatial connection to that, like the space that was never meant to be like very essential. But it has that sort of double height, and then it's got a low part that is very comfortable, right? It has that kind of feeling of almost like a cave, and then it's got a view into the kitchen. So it is actually the most surprising of all the spaces, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, it has a quality that feels very protective.
Our son tells us, he's 7 now, that he's going to live here for the rest of his life and he'll take it off us.
Kind of let him do his own thing in here.
This is really nice. So have you just taken the ceiling out?
Yeah, so there was just a loft space, but it's quite, again, the house is built with this like insane structure. So because of the split level, the roof was split. And what they did was basically creating a huge beam that went across to the party walls and then hung the whole ceiling in it. And we thought that was beautiful. And eventually, don't tell Luca, but the idea is that I want to build him a little bed up there. And then, you know, you can be up amongst it. Yeah, it'd be fun.
Magic.
Right? Yeah, like a day with the tools.
Bringing up our son in London, he's invariably going to be a Londoner and from Hackney, but that connection to his Danish culture and his identity as a Dane as well as a Londoner is going to be really important, and that's in the home, isn't it? You're very social. You do the Danish style of inviting everyone around for dinner all the time.
You have to cook,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I cook in
No,
the
I've got-
background
I'm
and
like
then leave
a-
it ready. You've got a couple of dishes.
I'm
you
like
can
a,
do.
it's that one-trick pony kind of thing. They're all getting this. Is like, did you
Get
have
a
that
big
last
bowl of
time?
pasta.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to make a note of who's had what, I find.
Yes, exactly
Yeah.
right.
I
And
keep a
but
mental
then
note.
and then you can just never invite them back.
It's been emotional.
Yeah, yeah.
No, thank you so much. What a fabulous, fabulous house. I've really enjoyed it, so thank you.
Glad you like
Very
it.
nice to meet you both.
Yeah,
Thanks,
See you.
Johan.
lovely.
Thanks,
to see
Anita.
you.
See you again.
Bye.
We're going to make our way up this massive door.
Massive door.
Cheerio.
Bye.
That was fantastic. I really enjoyed that, meeting Johan and Anita, despite the unrelenting drizzle that we've had today and still have. I think what really came through for me more than anything was the fact that they've designed this place for longevity. You know, they intend to be here for many years to come. The materials that they've used and the way that they've acquired certain things, certain design classics that they love, and they surround themselves with those things, I think is really brilliant. And the other thing I think is this sense of connection that you get within the building. So you get sight lines all the way through it. From the moment you arrive through the front door, you can see all the way through to the garden. All the spaces seem to be connected together, but at the same time there's acoustic privacy as well. So all in all, a brilliant visit, and thank you for watching.